Hey guys, good morning, and thanks for checking out your latest long-range forecast. Michael Clark here with BAM Weather in the Weather Portal. We're going to continue to kind of dissect the pattern here into December, look at what everything is saying. I've got some decent ideas this morning on some of the model discrepancy in the longer term period. There's a little bit of it. There's not much, but there is a little bit that I think warrants some discussion and some analysis into. So uh, let's get right into the analysis here this morning. This is a look at the old forecasts rolled into the new one. Okay, so these are your new day 10s on the left, the EPS, which is European Ensemble, and the GEFS, which is the American model. These are the old forecast periods, old day 14 on the right, old day 13 on the right here in the bottom. Both have clearly trended colder as that period of the December 8th timeframe has gotten closer. So trending colder with the Arctic blast, and I think that long-standing call here of talking about the potential of a significant shot of Arctic air into mid-December is certainly still on the table. This dam where this cold air is bottled up is going to break. Okay, and so that leads me into my HDD discussion here in terms of the prediction of where I think these HDDs can go. Again, there's this brief moderation period here where we're slightly below the 10 and 30-year normals to start December. Things kind of reorient. A storm system will impact the area sometime around the 12th, 13th, and then I think that's where we start to continuously get colder. So again, I think that we're going to continuously see from this point on, basically the 10th and beyond. I believe we're going to continue to see those colder trends and the risk for the HDDs to rise beyond that time frame as everything kind of continues to move and shake. All right. I had the latest HDD chart. I do want to pull that in for the month because I think it's critical to where we're going to go. So I will pull that in here real quick. I should have had that up on the screen. But this is the latest sub-seasonal model data, along with kind of our thought process too, and what we're thinking on where we go the rest of the month. And so what we've done here is kind of the same approach. Is we've plotted the sub-seasonal model data, and there are different variations of the outcome here. And again, I think that moderation period here, or the first cold dump happens here, and then we come back down with a front, right? Follow that red dashed line. We go back to colder, 30 HDD days. There's plenty of data that supports data being colder here. This is kind of the safe approach, if you will, but it's still above 10 and 30-year demands. Lot of information suggesting another storm system right before Christmas or around Christmas time, which happened in 2010, by the way. There was a big Christmas Eve snowstorm in 2010, and then we go back into being possibly colder again. All that to say, our forecast of December HDDs is still around that 890 point. I will tell you the latest CFS is 950. Okay, that model is trending substantially colder as time goes on. All right, so what are we looking at? Well, we got to watch essentially the two pieces in the North Atlantic or Scandinavia and the North Pacific. You see these two pieces here, they're going to act to kind of pinch against that tropospheric polar vortex. Note here in the beginning it's almost intact, but then the squeeze happens and it kind of separates the TPV, and that's where the cold bottles up in northwest Canada as the NAO establishes itself along with the EPO. Okay, let's go to the 0Z here. That was the 60. And you can see what starts to happen is that ridge develops in Greenland and it starts to retrograde. I want you to watch Greenland first here, all right? This big dark, these gray colors, meaning very, very strong anomalous ridging going on. And watch as the ridge starts to move west, okay? These west-based NAOs, as I've already proven and talked about this week, deliver Arctic air into the U.S. What starts to happen as we get closer into that third week of December, what I believe will start to happen is this piece will start to kind of rotate back around. Probably could use a better color here so you could see this better. But of course this doesn't work very well. My apologies here. Let's change the color here so you can see this better. Okay, so as this piece kind of works around, The North Pacific will continue to see bouts of this ridging, this negative EPO, based on the tropical forcing we're seeing and the atmospheric winds, all right, the angular momentum. This all here should start to kind of marry up, okay? So in this regard, you have this west-based negative NAO, you have this negative EPO, and eventually, I do believe, somewhat of a neutral to positive PNA after this relaxes, okay? And so as all these kind of come together, we're going to open it up here for Arctic air and storminess in the eastern U.S. And I believe that the European has the best evolution of this forecast based on how these things normally go, just how these patterns normally evolve, especially the pattern like that of 2010, right? This is a look at the 1 to 5 on the left, okay? This is a look at this is 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and 11 to 15. And this is our super ensembles. This is the blend of all 103 ensemble members. You see the warmth out ahead of the storm. The cold is dammed up. That dam breaks in that 6 to 10, and it all comes south, and then it lingers. This is the 11 to 15, where there's going to be some moderation, like I talked about in the HDD for a time, and I think it comes back up the 15th to the 20th. It reloads. At the same time, we continue to note 2 areas of active storm track activity occurring, but that shifts in the 6 to 10 as the mega ensemble brings the Arctic air down. And this is where you're going to start looking for winter storms to develop. This is where you're going to start looking for snows and big impact storms, especially I think from the 15th and beyond. We're going to start looking at some pretty significant risks here for some bigger storms. Listen, the modeling, it's not quite picking up on it yet in terms of, I think, the true potential in the pattern here. This is the 6Z GFS operational, and you can see the first storm it tries to hint at right here. All right, that's the 6th and the 7th. That'll bring some snow to the Great Lakes, the interior Northeast. But the NAO is establishing at this time. And what starts to happen is, as we get deeper into this period here, I think we're going to start to be looking at the potential for more storm activity to develop. That's the 6Z GFS. You can just kind of sniff out potential storms here on these different model runs. Here's another one from 0Z. I think there will start to be more activity to track closer to that 15th time frame and beyond in terms of looking for big winter storms. It's not going to be a quick thing. This is going to be a process, right? The cold will come quicker than the storm track will. Okay. The super clusters here, all 103 members, 11 to 15 day pattern. Again, really looks a lot like what we've been talking about for a couple weeks. Cold over the top. We got the warm wrist center down to the south. That's reflected in all of our outlooks, our week 3 and 4 and our December. It has been for a while. But the 11 to 15 day cold period is basically locked in on all the ensembles. There's no question. Then you go to the day 15 clusters, okay? And you can see here that a large majority, in fact, 59 of the 103 members, if I can draw that, this new drawing tool is not good, I'll just tell you that right now. 59 of the 103 members here from the cluster 1 and cluster 3 suggests that that's when that reload might try to take place. That's when that shot back up of the cold may try to come in, and this is when the west-based NAO is really established here. You can see the aboves, and that's where I think the pattern really starts to get entertaining by that point. All right. So what's the model discrepancies? Well, the Canadian, the day 15 Canadian has this big negative PNA and almost retracts the EPO. So we have all these lower heights. The result is eastern U.S. warmth. The reason for this is MJ07. That's the reason, and I'll show you that on the RMM plot in just a second. The American model, a little bit better. So trying to start to see the connection here. Start to see the connection of the heights, the warm heights here, and we're going to start to squeeze the Arctic air supply and create colder here in day 15. And then the European doing it the best, in my opinion, right now, in terms of what we talked about, where these are all three going to start to come together. We're going to force Arctic air over all the major continents, Europe, Asia, and North America, and the EPS day 15 reflecting that well. both of those getting into that favorable MJO phase. Look at the Canadian ensemble here in the top left. It never actually gets it into 8. It stays into 7. Well, December's with negative AAMs like we're going to have, I talked about in yesterday's video, with MJO 7s, guess what? They keep it warm. Big negative PNA stays here and the EPO doesn't establish. So you have Pacific problems in phase 7, okay, if you linger in December. You look at the other models, GEFS, European going into phase 8, and European even really going into 8 and dying out. Maybe some weak hints of phase 1 here. GEFS tries to bring in some phase 1. So here's what happens. The dam breaks, the cold comes south, and the Pacific is cooperating, and then the cold bleeds down into the east, which is like the day 15 progression of those two ensembles. All right? There's no reason to not buy into that right now. The other thing we have working against or for us is the very strong east-based nature of this La Nina. Our ENSO 1.2 region, very, very cold. We look at years that have the coldest ENSO 1.2 regions, the east-based Nina setup, and this is the pattern that you see. This is what you get. And it's remarkable because it continues to solidify our December forecast right here. I mean, it just continues to make me and us feel good about the December outlook and everything going on. Look at the 500 millibar pattern match to the EPS forecast. I mean, it's almost an exact match, honestly. So, you know, that is continuing to work in our favor for the overall background state of the pattern. All right. So best shot of cold we've had in December here in over a decade, in my opinion. All right. Latest CFS continues to the trend. Look at the trend here. Look at the trend each day to colder. Right? Here. What's it doing here? Let's erase this. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry, guys. Look at the trend to colder here and what you've got going on. Okay? You've got each day getting progressively colder. And that all leads up to today's latest forecast. It looks exactly like our December map. Look at the latest week 3 and 4, the 13th through the 19th, the 20th through the 26th. Look what starts to come back. Look at that. It starts to come back. PNA, the EPO. Here's its HDD forecast. After the 8th, it never goes back below normal for December. The HDD forecast, a 24-run average from the CFS right now is 950 HDDs. It's very, very cold for December. Okay. Puts our latest week 3 and 4, the final image here at 435 for the 13th to the 26th. I would look for a big storm system closer to Christmas. Believe it or not, as cliche as that might sound, it is certainly popping up. It's well above 10 and 30-year normals, and it's way colder than last year by a long shot. And listen, confidence is pretty good on this, and so don't see any reason to go against it for now. If you have questions, let us know. Thanks for watching. We'll keep you posted.